Well. Back again at, I don't know where we're back again. Huh. I guess where I left off is a good place to begin, which was at the Idaho Falls International Airport, waiting for my boys' flight to come in. They ended up getting a little bit of a delay, so we got a pretty late start coming back into town, but, like, didn't really matter, because catching up with the guys is just, time flies when you're doing that. So 2-hour drive back to Jackson, even in the dark, wasn't really shit. We ended up getting a relatively early start the next day, renting some bikes from the bike shop I work at that we could ride out to the Grand Teton National Park, specifically Jenny Lake. But that was a lot of fun. The ride was really, really awesome. So we ended up heading into the park. There was a really bad accident, unfortunately. So they were like not letting people in. We had to kind of make a detour off down towards where like Phelps Lake is. And then we turned back around to see if they had reopened up the park, and they had, lucky for us. And the accident was pretty nasty. We ended up passing it by. They had one of the lanes closed. So definitely could have been a worse day.
This is such a stupid fucking camera angle.
We ended up making our way all the way to the lake, to Jenny Lake, and then taking the boat shuttle across. Plus, we had done a really long bike ride, so it was nice to kind of like sit down and just enjoy the lake, enjoy riding along. We ended up doing Hidden Falls and Inspiration Point. Those are the two classics on the other side of Jenny Lake. Both of them are beautiful. Hidden Falls is a really awesome waterfall, and then Inspiration Point just gives you a really nice overview of the lake and a really nice view of the mountains, and all of it's just really, really, chilling.
Oh. We're having fun. Today is a fun day.
Goddamn. I gotta get back in the flow of things. It's been a little, anybody else feel like it's been a little bit robotic, Part of the problem is this happened a week ago, but it's kind of hard, like, remembering and jogging my memory, so I feel like I've been a little robotic. It's just, we got we had that trip, I had the solo trip, and then the boys came into town, and now I'm doing backpacking, I think, later today, and all these trips are combining in my head, and realities are combining, and seeing how that goes. I'm trying to figure out my process, so, just work with me here. Work with me on it, okay? Please? Where was I? Hiking back around Jenny Lake. It was pretty crazy how much animal luck the guys had. I think I might have seen the most amount of animals in like a concentrated period of time that I have while being out here.
Oh, wait, no. I don't like this. That's exactly how I felt.
The first of which were a mama and a baby bear when we were walking back across the lake. They were like right up there, right next to the lake. And then after that, we took the bikes back, rode back into Jackson, got our car, and headed out of town. And we were planning on camping pretty close to Yellowstone, but it turned out the dispersed campground that we were trying to get to, the road was closed to get to it. We were right there at the end of May. It was like May 29th, and everything opened June 1st, which was not clear on mine, which is always a lesson. This stuff is, like, the dispersed camping stuff is kind of always a gamble. It's kind of the fun of a road trip, but sometimes you gotta adjust. I mean, we were gonna stay, like, up in there, but...
Yeah, but that works, bro.
I feel like...
it's an actual ad game, bro. I literally see this shit in ads. There's no way.
Yeah.
Fuck off. God damn it. So we ended up backtracking back to Coulter Bay from the campground that we were originally going to do. And it was Coulter Bay is like this huge campground in Grand Teton National Park. So anyway, after our adjustment to Coulter Bay, we had a little extra driving to do in the morning to get into Yellowstone. Yellowstone is like enormous, and you don't really realize how big it is until you've gone around it. Like, even getting into it after doing it a few times, it still kind of hits me how big it is. Because the other thing is the speed limit slows down. Since you're in a national park, you go down to 45 instead of like 65 or 70. That makes the traveling longer and makes you kind of sit down and enjoy things. So it makes things seem kind of expanded out. So we ended up going into the Old Faithful area. We had to do it. It is a pretty touristy spot. It's probably the most popular spot in Yellowstone. But it's also a classic. The geyser walk is really, really awesome. That was the other thing. The guys did not have good geyser luck. They had good animal luck, but not good geyser luck. So as we were walking around the geysers, they seemed a little less bubbly than normal. It was still a good time. That geyser walk is beautiful, and you can do it really quick. So we saw that. And there was another bison that was really, really close by, just hanging out right near the lodge. So that was cool. It's always cool to see the bisons kind of owning the geysers and owning that part of the park too. So after that, we ended up heading up to the Mammoth Hot Spring area. We did the quick little scenic drive around there, which is really cool because you can just see a bunch of really cool features. You get to go out on the big kind of crystal white structure, and you can see that and check that out.
Dude, it's the same picture. The kid following. In German too. See that? Dude, I think it's the same exact dude doing the same exact clothes.
But it was getting late in the day. We were camping again that night, so we wanted to get out of the park. So after the scenic drive, we headed out to Gardiner, Montana. Quick stop in town for some gas, some supplies, and then headed out to, I think it was called Eagle Creek Campground, and decided to press our luck and head on further down that road, because there was apparently some more dispersed camping further down. But it turned out those campgrounds were also opened in June, same sort of deal. So a lot of the Yellowstone campgrounds open in June, just for everybody's information. We had to turn around. We did about, I don't know, maybe 50 extra minutes of driving on a dirt road, but it was good. I hit 10,000 miles in my car, which was pretty cool, hitting 10,000 miles with the boys. We hopped out and we did a quick photo shoot, just to commemorate the moment. And we ended up circling around kind of a ridge and getting a little bit more elevation before finding a kind of sort of tiny spot. It was a bit of a rough spot, but we like really made it work. So it ended up being a good spot. We could see back into the park. We could see where people were driving from. And so woke up the next day, wanted to get moving pretty quick. Credit to the boys. Both of them are pretty good travelers and did really well at just like keeping it moving. So we got moving pretty quick that morning and headed back into Yellowstone. We ended up going a little bit into Lamar Valley and hitting the Petrified Tree Trail. It was just kind of a bunch of the trails in Lamar Valley seem kind of similar and kind of like they're all awesome and there's not a lot of features. It's just kind of you're looking around for animals. But for now, we just did this quick, I say quick, but it was a really high elevation, 1,000-foot elevation, probably like 3-mile hike, which is a decent amount of elevation over really quick trails. So we saw pronghorn, which are my favorite to see. They're the second fastest animal in the world after cheetahs. They just don't look like they'd be from North America. They look very different than anything else around here, so I really like them. But we saw more bison as well. Love to see them. It looked like a mama and a baby, or two mamas maybe and two babies, had gotten frightened by something, so they were kind of hiking it along, charging it along a trail once we had passed by.
Even if it's just pixels, man, that's cool.
We saw a bunch kind of just hanging out in a field, and it is really cool hiking through like that and realizing like at some point there was a lot more bison than there are now back in the day. But it's like it's pretty crazy when you're walking through that and you realize just how much history the land around you has. This was really cool because this was like the first actual hike that I've done in Yellowstone. Even going how many times I've gone now, it's still been a lot of the touristy stuff, a lot of the boardwalks, that sort of stuff. So this is the first time I feel like I really got off the main trail, and doing that with the guys was really, really special. Did it pass by the Yellowstone Lake?
That looks like a cub. Where's the mother bear?
I took them to West Thumb really quick, and we did another geyser boardwalk there.
Peace, love America.
You get a good kind of taste of the lake, as well as you get to see a bunch more geysers and sort of springs that are pretty cool looking. And then it ended up heading out of the park. We kind of resupplied at my place really quick before moving on to the Bridger Teton National Forest. We went camping down near Alpine and Grays River, dispersed camping. And it was an all right spot. It would have been a lot cooler if we had like ATVs and dirt bikes. Another reminder, I need an ATV or a dirt bike because there was a bunch of people kind of ripping around. It was sort of dusty. But we ended up finding a really nice spot. We had a really nice campfire. We found a little baby pine tree that someone had cut down and not burned yet. So we ended up having that go up. But it was our last night, so it was kind of good to spent it just chilling in a kind of more classic campground.
Now you have to jump through it.
How
Prove
big is
your-
too big of a fire?
We slept with the fly open and got to see the stars, which was really beautiful. It was really nice because the whole trip we'd been kind of rushing around and it felt like it went by like in an instant. So we ended up packing up camp and then making our way down to Salt Lake. The quickest way kind of dips you in and out of Idaho and Wyoming and Utah all the way. So we did that way first, the quickest way first, just because they did have a late flight, but I had to get back to Jackson or find somewhere to camp after dropping them off at the airport. We had time to grab one last quick hike at the Great Salt Lake shorelands. It was this really cool preserve. It was like a bird preserve, but it was really nice set up. It had a ton of really cool informational signs and just really interesting looking structures that you could climb up. There was one place that you could put your phone in like a little thingy and take a picture and then email it to the conservation group to help them kind of keep track of like how the landscape looked and how it changed over the years. Ended up dipping to the airport after that. Dropped the boys off. That sucked. It can be really hard not being with your roots. It makes you appreciate the moments that you have with the people that you grew up with and that you love and that you care about even more. But at the same time, it makes the leaving them bittersweet. And there's always something in the back of your head that it's like it's not permanent, which is hard with loved ones when you know it's just a temporary thing. So it was gonna be a long drive back, but a long drive back in the west during the sunset when you're exhausted isn't exactly not the right vibe. So, and then I passed I forget what the name of the church was, but it was a church in Afton, Star Valley Temple, Mormon Temple. It was another Mormon church. The church at the end of my last video, Mormon church, this one, Mormon church, passed it at night. It's like this beautiful church that's just glowing and it's perfectly lit up as the sun's like 15 minutes from finally like stopping lighting up anything. Like all the mountains are just outlines at this point, and it was just awesome. So bonus points in this video go to the Mormons for your beautiful churches. I guess I should have known, being kind of closer to Utah and stuff, but Mormon, you got some beautiful churches, man. It really did hit me the next day, like always the vacation blues, like the last day of the vacation or the first day you're back from vacation. Those blues that hit you, like the extreme version of the Sunday scaries. And it was the road trip blues and homesickness for the homies. That combination, that was a 1-2 punch that just really nailed me right in the chest. So of course I planned another trip to keep on moving. If you have sad feelings about a trip ending, you just start planning the next one, which I think I'm gonna end up doing this afternoon. If you made it to this point, thank you again for watching. I think these videos are getting better. I've learned not to record in super windy conditions and have some decent audio. And I plan on trying to keep doing some adventures and figuring out some way to do that. So if you have any recommendations of how I can improve or places to go, or compliments also work, feel free to leave a few of those. It's cool getting back into this after a few years of being away and being creative again. So thank you. See you next week. I do have to throw this in here. Dan's probably not gonna like this. But at one point we were talking about defending against wild animals. And I told him that I was bringing a speaker, so his recommendation was that we play the predator sound of whatever animal was around us to scare it off on the speaker.